Inside Washington, D.C.'s Lincoln Memorial are carved the words of the Gettysburg Address, in which Abraham Lincoln extolled the noble values of government of the people, by the people, for the people. From his lofty marble throne, Lincoln's statue gazes over the reflecting pool and down the Mall, a 2-mile strip of open land in the centre of the city, which seems to embody those principles. It provides a space for the people, for personal freedom, to move around at one's own pace, to pause amidst the urban rush, to think, to remember, to be oneself, to be as private or as public as one wishes. Everything in it belongs to the people and is freely accessible by the people. And yet on all sides stand the architectural reminders of that democratic government that Abraham Lincoln was so eloquent about. The central pivot of the Mall is the memorial to George Washington, whose ancestors emigrated from northeast England and who was eventually elected as the first President of the United States of America. He gave his name to this city, and his monument still exercises control over its appearance, since no building in Washington is allowed to be higher than the monument itself. Since it is the highest masonry structure in the world, and is 5 times higher than any existing building in Washington, it should be easy to keep to those architectural rules. Washington, D.C. is a city of gracious, low-lying buildings. There are none of the towering skyscrapers that dominate other American skylines. In this home of politics, power is expressed more subtly. It is physically closer to the ground, and emotionally closer to the people. At the east end of the Mall stands the U.S. Capitol building, the icon of American politics and the symbol of this city. It has been the home of Congress since 1800. Nearly 20,000 congressional staff members, political lobbyists and journalists swarm around it every day. But it is still for the people, and is freely accessible to any individual willing to wait in line. Informally, the Capitol building also attracts other stars of political pressure, from those who use it as a recognizable backdrop for their media protests.
Thank you all for coming today. My name is Gene Karpinski. I'm the director of the U.S. Public Interest Research Group.
This group, objecting to oil industry pollution in Alaska, are exercising their democratic rights. They are the voice of the people in action.
Do we want more drilling in special places like the Arctic Refuge? No! Do we want more nuclear waste? No! More coal? No! More global warming? No! More asthma attacks? No! That's good. Let's make sure that we send a loud and clear message today to the Congress that this energy plan is good for the polluters but bad for the public. What do we want? Clean energy! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Clean energy! When do we want it? Now!
The Congresswoman who supported their cause eventually returned to the formal debates inside the chamber. Later that day, President Bush was forced to accept a compromise, which greatly reduced the potential damage to the Alaskan environment. Government, by the people, had won a small victory. The democratic freedom of people has sometimes been paid for by the lives of others. The war in Vietnam was a traumatic event in American history. For the first time, the horrors of war were brought instantly into family homes by the new technology of television. It sharply divided the very people in whose name it was fought. The architect of the Vietnam War Memorial visualized this turmoil as a black marble slash in the earth, which gets deeper and darker as you progress along it. It then symbolically rises into the light of day, as grass slowly encroaches at either end. It is certainly a very powerful image as you walk past 58,000 names of the dead carved into its reflective surface. It's the most visited monument in America. Clearly, many people remain touched by what these young men and women gave as their final gift for the people. The ultimate power and responsibility lies with the President of America, whose home stands on the northern edge of the Mall. Like other aspects of American government, the White House is freely open to the people, at least those willing to start queuing at dawn to obtain a ticket before they run out by breakfast time. George Washington commissioned the original building, but was the only American president who never lived in it.
I'm at home in Washington, where the president is threatening a veto of an expanded farm aid package.
The Mall is also the home of the greatest selection of free museums in the world. They celebrate all aspects of personal achievement. The most popular is the National Air and Space Museum. Here you can marvel at the courage and perseverance of individuals willing to risk their lives to extend the frontiers of human knowledge, to shorten the distance between countries, and to shrink the universe. From Charles Lindbergh's epic flight as the first solo pilot to cross the Atlantic in the Spirit of St. Louis, to the astronauts who risked all to reach out to the moon and beyond, these exploits are just another symbol of what some people will do on behalf of others. The Mall is an area which supports all forms of artistic expression. The sound of live music drifts through the trees, while crowds relax around the cooling fountains and others explore the sculpture park. In another corner, statues freeze time, as a group of American servicemen apparently creep silently across an open field. This is part of the Korean War Memorial, once again edged by a long wall of black marble. This time the surface is etched with the faces of those who fought and died. The wall provides a complex pattern of memories and reflections of both the past and the present. Whatever one's views of war, it is the dedication of servicemen and women who protect the possibility of free democratic government, to ensure, as Lincoln said, that it should not perish from the earth. In a country that is proud of its traditions and freedoms, it is typically symbolic that this group should choose to honour one of their colleagues on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, with the photo opportunity of the Mall stretching into the distance behind. This was the same view which faced Martin Luther King as he gave his influential "I Have a Dream" speech to 250,000 civil rights marchers in 1963. It is ironic that both Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln were assassinated for defending their beliefs in the equality of man. But Lincoln was wrong when he said that people would soon forget what he had to say. Like Martin Luther King's dream, his conviction about the value of people will never die.